Welcome back to another episode on our Scion FRS track car. As you recently saw, we added some cooling, some aero, a new exhaust system on here. We thought before we go back to the track, why don't we add some more power with a Jackson Racing high boost pulley. Who knew making horsepower could be this easy? Just bolt this little guy on there and our boost goes up from 9 PSI to 12 PSI on that Jackson Racing Rotrex blower. It's the C3094 unit. So it's the smaller of the two units you can go for on this car. And this will, well, 3 PSI of boost is gonna make some power. We'll find out shortly how much power it really makes. By the way, you must be warned, you have some things you need to do before you install that pulley. You obviously need to tune it on at least 93 octane or higher. And you also need an upgraded fuel pump and upgraded injectors. We think this car already has an upgraded fuel pump in it. We inherited it from a team that had a turbo on it, so we're assuming the pump's in there, but we're gonna check on that. And we've also gone ahead and ordered some upgraded injectors. So this little tiny guy flows 1,000 cc's, which seems like a miracle to me, but this is how compact fuel injectors are these days. These are from Involved Injection. So they've sent us a little sheet here that you can see with dead times, which Sasha will need when tuning the ECU. And they've even gone ahead and given us like flow information. They've bench tested all 4 injectors and you can see they all 4 flow at 996 cc. So we've got a matched pair, or a matched set, you would say. That just means we're gonna have consistent fuel flow at all 4 cylinders, which is what you want. So we're gonna see how hard these are to swap in. These are the port injected injectors, by the way. This car has both port injection and direct injection. We're obviously only changing out the port injected ones. I don't think you can change out the DI ones, or if you could, it would be insanely difficult and pointless, because this is really what you want for tuning. So we're gonna install those now, then we'll install the pulley, then we'll check the fuel pump, or in some order related to those 3 items before we head to the dyno.
Swapping these injectors seems like it's gonna be a pretty easy job. The other side was actually super simple. All I had to do was take off a cover much like this one here, which I think these are for crash protection actually. Nam from NV Auto told us that. And once you have that off, you just have to take the fuel rail out and you can swap your injectors. On this side, however, there was a computer of some sorts, I think an injection assembly ECU, I'm not sure. But this was mounted here and we had to take that off as well.
Maybe that's like the DI driver?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But so what we now need to do, there are 2 12mm bolts that need to be removed from here, and then we can pull this whole fuel rail up. So let's do that. And as you can see, once that is out, our fuel rail simply pops up just like that. There you go. Those are our factory injectors that we are replacing. So you just pull them out nice and gently. There is quite a bit of difference between the stock injector and our Involved Injection injector, but flow is the most important thing. This thing flows 1,000 cc's, and Evolved Injection, why do I have such a hard time saying that, DP?
Evolved Injection, yeah, it's a mouthful.
Yeah, they carry a full line of injectors, so whatever your needs are, they probably will have you covered. We actually heard of them through our buddy Will at PZ Tuning. He runs them on his Time Attack Civic.
It's an above average car as far as speed goes.
Well, it is, yes, of course.
We figured if it's good enough for Will, it should be good enough for our FRS.
And you know what the real beauty of this is? It's a true plug and play install here, because the clip, the factory clip, doesn't bolt or doesn't plug onto here. So what they do is they provide an adapter clip that goes on like that, as such, and this plugs right into there. And so this will, if I flip this the right way, it'll go on there with ease. I just need to pop this line out here anyways, but you kind of get the picture. So it's a really simple install to swap injectors on this car. We're gonna try to remove this pulley without having to take the charger off or any of the charge pipes. And as you can see, I do have pretty easy access to the Allen head bolts And what I'm doing is just loosening them up and then rotating it around until I have enough space to get to the next bolt. And I think this is the last one. And I'm gonna crack loose. So now I've got them all ready to go to come out. So the next step here is to take this belt off, and then we can remove everything. There's the last bolt.
Yes.
Now,
Excitement.
come on, pulley. Gotta loosen the belt a little bit more. Yes.
There she goes.
Look at that. That came out pretty easy. Now let's look at our size reference.
Yeah.
It's gonna give us 3 more PSI. And now it is time for our 13 PSI Jackson Racing pulley.
I think it's actually 12 PSI.
What?
I stand corrected, or you stand corrected. It's 12
Come on.
PSI.
I thought we were going for 13 here,
No,
DP.
it's 12 PSI.
We just lost a bunch of horsepower in my mind that we never had originally.
Exactly.
So, well, the next step here is to use the supplied Loctite onto the bolts and bolt this back on and then tighten it up to
70 Newton meters, which I'll have to use a converter to figure out foot-pounds or inch-pounds or whatever we want to do.
While you do that, I'm going to start getting these in, and then we'll go from there. We had to make a phone call. Where do you think we made that phone call to? Jackson Racing, of course, to figure out how many foot-pounds these bolts need, and the answer is 12, which in inch-pounds is 144. So now I'm going to go and do exactly that and paint mark each and every bolt so that I know it doesn't move. And I've actually found that we put the belt back on, and that alone gives us enough leverage here to tighten these without them moving the pulley, which has been very, very nice. So actually I just hold it here. There we go. So we've got a couple more to go, and we are officially done here, which means it is time to check out our fuel pump.
Not easy to see what's going on back there with a roll cage, but Pete's trying to get the fuel pump housing out of the tank here, which
would be easy if we didn't have this damn cage.
Yep.
Everything else in it. Just push my finger. All right, I gotta crawl in here. Now, I'm just gonna hobbit my way in here.
Now that we've got R2-D2 here out of the fuel tank with his float, and he's in his own little swirl pot type of deal here, we're just popping it open to see what we've got for a fuel pump inside. And it is...
Oh, it's dirty. Look at the dirt.
It is pretty dirty, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that pump seems to be longer than stock.
Yes, it does, which is why I assume it's zip tied on.
Yep. Which means that is an aftermarket larger pump for sure.
Yes. So it's confirmed we have ourselves an upgraded pump, so we have everything that we need for the dyno now. And that's where we're headed next.
We're here at Toge Tuning's huge new facility. We'll give you a tour quickly, maybe while Sasha's doing some tuning. As you can see, we're on the OnPoint Dyno Dynapacks here. It's time to see how much power we make with that small Jackson Racing pulley. Toge recently relocated here. I think it's something like 8,000 square feet. It's a seriously large facility. As you can see, they specialize in Subarus. They got a ton of them in here right now, and an S2000, because any proper tuning shop should have an S2000, right? Looking promising here so far, Sasha. So what's the process been like since we rolled this thing onto the dyno?
It's been pretty smooth, actually, surprisingly.
Yeah, it's unusual for us to have a smooth dyno session, it's true.
Yes, we've done a lot of these cars. We've got a lot of base maps, so it wasn't too difficult to kind of plug in a pretty similar injector. And then it's basically just checking to make sure that injector is calibrated correctly to the direct injector.
Right.
Because this engine, having direct injection and port injection, will be switching back and forth all the time.
Right.
So it's really important the ECU understands the exact calibration of the port injector, so that when it's switching back and forth, you don't have these big swings in air-fuel ratio that cause the car to stumble and have the O2 sensor kind of chasing it to try and
Okay.
catch up.
So what's left then? Is it just fine tuning it? Because you didn't rev it all the way out, so you're kind of working your way up to redline?
Yeah, so basically when we've got a big injector, the first thing we need to do is get to a high amount of load and make sure the injector looks correct at a high amount of load and a low amount of load, since that's really the only two parameters we have to be able to adjust an injector.
Right.
Once we know we're good there, then we'll go through the partial throttle and make sure that's all as smooth as possible. And then the high power stuff is obviously just the fine tuning.
That went surprisingly smoothly, Sasha. We didn't blow anything up.
I'm blown away.
You are blown away. This is a very un-Speed Academy tuning session on the
I
dyno.
think we finished in like 2 hours.
We did, that was quick, and the results are pretty darn impressive. We gained 40 wheel horsepower at peak. Went from 272 to 312, so that's gonna feel like something on the racetrack, I think.
Yeah, so it's kind of what we expected. These road truck superchargers just keep making power,
Yeah.
spinning faster, unlike some superchargers that you can raise the boost and nothing happens.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to go to the racetrack and see how it feels and see how much quicker we go. We also picked up about 30 foot-pounds of torque, which is a pretty healthy number to pick up as well. So thanks very much for the tuning. We appreciate your time and effort as always. That is a wrap on this dyno tuning supercharger pulley injector upgrade video. Stoked on the results. Hope you guys are stoked too. Give us a thumbs up for that 40 wheel. And hit the subscribe button if you want to see us take this thing back to TMP and see how much faster we go.
And I feel pretty confident that there's a pump in here, so this is kind of all for waste.
Yeah, I vaguely remember Sasha telling us back in the day on the dyno that he thought we had a bigger pump too, but